No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 366. And did you see how our dear leader arrived to the G20 in South Africa a few hours ago?
Hello.
He's got all the grace and dignity of a hippopotamus. But you want to know what's so hilarious? Number 10 Downing Street, who believe that they work with the mainstream media as if it's North Korea, has attempted to ban the MSM from showing this clip. So you know what we do in the independent media? Can we just see it at least one more time?
Hello.
Paul Thorpe, I mean, seriously, how on earth can they ban that? Like, this shows you how nuts, how completely nuts Downing Street is, right?
Dan, we need something to cheer us up, brother, right? I mean, this is fantastic. I mean, look, it's not the first time that Slippery Islam has stepped up, is it? And you can't say that before you've had a beer, I'll tell you. But Slippery Islam has slipped up, and not for the first time. It's hilarious, Dan. Gives us something to smile about at last.
There's something metaphorical there, I agree, Paul. Indeed. Well, look, do stand by, because breaking today, a violent Islamist takeover is underway in Sadiq Khan's London. But the mainstream media look away as the attacks become more commonplace and our way of life is crushed.
Oh shit, got a knife in it. Oh shit, big bully out here. Big bully outside.
Well, I honestly think that if they're just going to do this, I think it's fine. Well, listen, I'm not going to fall into intimidation.
This is a primary school. Oh wait, it's a school with windows open. Oh wait, right now, or I will call the police.
ये देखिए ये दो लोग लंदन के स्कूल्स वालों को डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, ठीक?
Tommy Robinson has now accused Islamists of not just grooming British kids for sex, but to join their cult.
Have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest.
The last one final. Allah. Alone. Muhammad is the last one final.
It's the last one final.
Allah. Alone. I testify.
Yet still the elite class pretend everything is just fine and dandy as London's failed Islamist mayor flies around the world on private jets.
You could walk from one end of Whitechapel to the other and not hear someone speak English. Is that protecting our culture? Yes or no, Sebastian?
Do you believe in free markets?
Yes.
Well then,
then
you'll be defending their right to open whatever businesses they want to serve the customers they have.
We're talking about the erosion of British culture. Has that happened in Whitechapel? Yes or no?
No, I don't think it has.
That's ridiculous.
Because that culture has evolved. Because we're not Normans or Saxons anymore. We're modern Britons.
They're not speaking English, Sebastian.
You took an entourage of 11 staff to South Africa alone. Can you explain, by the way, this was on business class, so good for you. I hope they took care of you on the flight. Can you explain why such a large team was essential, or does streamlining only ever apply to everyone else's footprint but yours?
It's the role of the Mayor of London to champion the capital as an exceptional place to live, work, study and invest in.
So what the destruction of our biggest cities means for the future of the UK in my digest next. Then, analysis from, we just saw him, Paul Thorpe, host of The Real People's channel on YouTube, who this week has said Brits are wholly unprepared for what's to come. Also coming up on the show today, Rory Stewart comes for Tommy Robinson in the new episode of The Rest is Politics, but the Unite the Kingdom activist isn't taking the new slur lying down. We'll show you. Rupert Lowe hits out at two-tier policing after Dr Shola's death threat against the Restore Britain leader with 2 million views is ignored by cops. And Axe Talk TV star Mike Graham's independence has caused a row on the right. We'll analyse. Then, in the uncancelled after show, which is over on Substack, Meghan Markle's Diana cosplay has sparked new outrage after the release of her Harper's Bazaar disaster interview. Will team up with YouTube sensation, according to Taz, for all the royal latest. And of course, because it is a Friday, we will also be unveiling the worst Britain in the world this week before the end of the show. That's where we put your Union jackasses head to head. You can vote right now in the posts tab on YouTube. But here are the contenders. Narinder Kaur from Monday, Ed Davey from Tuesday, Shabana Mahmood from Wednesday, and Chris Packham from Thursday. Who's it going to be? We will reveal the worst Britain in the world at the end of the show and bring your comments too. So do make sure you stick with us today. But now, let's go. The speed and the violence of the takeover of London under Islamist Takeover Khan spreading to the UK's other biggest cities is terrifying. But perhaps what's most concerning is the failure of the regime media and the elite class to work out what's going on and why we must fight back, while also acknowledging they've spent the past decade at least getting it totally wrong on campaigners like Tommy Robinson. Our culture is being destroyed. Our women are no longer safe. And it will soon be a mirage that we are a Christian country.
Is not shy of the truth. We don't say that Islam is here to live, to coexist with lots of different religions and all of us can just hold hands and be friends. This religion was sent to dominate the world. It was sent to be superior, to extinguish the light of every other religion and to be superior to it. We're not shy to say it, and we don't find that to be something that we should be shy to say. That this religion has been sent to dominate, to wipe out, to take out every other religion, to eclipse it, to be superior to it, to have the people leave every religion and to accept Islam. And if that requires fighting to achieve it, then it requires fighting to achieve it. Because the greatest purpose for which jihad was legislated is to make the word of Allah the highest and the word of those who disbelieve the lowest.
Tommy Robinson responded as a new report being spoken about on GB News tonight, pointing out that rape gangs are driven by Islam. It's quite frustrating that this is exactly what I've been trying to tell the world for decades. In a sorry state of affairs, as I was censored from every single British TV, radio and worldwide social media platforms, the only place I could exercise my freedom of speech was Russia, in an attempt to educate on Islamic rape jihad. And I mean, this is now something we're having to deal with. It's not the future, it is now. Look, for example, at this scene outside a London school.
From the primary school. I beg your pardon. This is a primary school. Away, it's a school. With windows open. Away. Right now or I will call the police.
ये दो लोग लंदन के स्कूल्स वालों को डिस्टर्ब कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? ये देखें.
And of course, a lot of this is all part of the takeover, the infiltration, as Tommy pointed out. When they're not grooming British kids for sex, they're grooming them to join their cult. Here is the evidence.
Muhammad is the last one final. Allah alone. Muhammad is the last one final.
It's the last one final.
Allah alone. I testify. Allah. I testify. Jesus, son of Mary.
Copies of the Quran?
Got the Quran?
Yeah, have a copy. You're Christian?
Catholic.
You believe in Jesus?
Catholic.
You believe in Jesus? We also believe in Jesus. Did you know that?
I got Quran.
Muslims, it talks about Jesus. Yeah, look, if you look at the 19th chapter of the Quran, it's actually called Mary. Here, say look, Mary. Surah, that means chapter, Mary.
Who do you believe?
So we believe in the one true God, the God of Jesus. We believe that Jesus was a prophet of God.
Jesus is son.
Is the son of God, like the physical God, son of God, or someone who's just righteous?
God, man and born.
Yeah, but it's like a prophet, though, you believe, no?
We believe that he's a prophet, like Moses, like Abraham, like Noah. They all had the same message: worship God alone. None of them said worship Jesus, right? Even when Jesus, he was praying, Who was he praying to? God, right? So this is what Islam teaches. Take a copy. Take a copy, have a read. Take care. Alhamdulillah. As you can see, young guys, alhamdulillah, they didn't know much about Islam, but just engaging with them, alhamdulillah, they took a copy of the Quran. May Allah, may guide them by reading it, inshallah.
And already our culture is changing. In Khan's Islamist London, on the tube, women now stand as the men sit, prompting Kiara Diss to rage, call me crazy, but once upon a time, British men would offer their seat to a woman on public transport. The imported generation of men do not share those same values. This scene epitomizes that statement. Watch.
London too. Women nowadays are standing, men sitting.
But of course, even more concerning is the actual violent attacks on our women. Look at this. Bridgerton star Genevieve Chenoir was attacked overnight in central London again, just months after this incident where her phone was stolen. And she is completely traumatized by what went down. Watch.
Literally 5 minutes before my audition, I was walking around the corner in Oxford Circus, and this guy just looks at me and like targets me and hits me, and like I'm like against the wall, and I was literally like right about to arrive for my audition, so I've like had to come in. And I'm trying to like gather myself, but I'm so shaken because obviously I had that phone attack happen to me, and it's like so nerve-wracking for me being out in central London now. And I just got my confidence up and was like looking and moving back. And he just like, he literally like, I couldn't walk anywhere. He was just looking at me and he just hit me.
And that follows an almost identical violent attack on my friend, the TV presenter Kirsty Gallagher, in London just last month.
And I noticed this guy, all in black, covered up actually, just walking at me. And I'm always vigilant. And he was just walking towards me, and I thought, this is not right. So I moved out of the way. And then he brushed past me, he turned around and he kicked me like he was kicking a football. He kicked me in the middle of a street at about 7 o'clock last night in front of people.
And I mean, this is our life now. A life where it is now impossible to walk the streets of Khan's London without being mugged. I mean, it's happened to me twice, with another attempt by two Islamists on the back of a motorbike. Some locals now have just had enough. They're fighting back.
On here. Oh shit, got a knife in me. Oh shit, big bully out here. Big bully outside. Oh shit.
Come on, son.
Oh shit.
But of course, when the late, great West London bin man Wayne Broadhurst attempted to stop a violent incident involving an Afghan illegal who arrived here on the back of a lorry, that cretin stabbed him to death. I think what's so disturbing is the suicidal empathy of young hard leftists who are completely unaware that it is their future under threat because of Islam. So I want to show you these idiots at the LSE in London yesterday who were actually celebrating the political assassination of Charlie Kirk as Turning Point UK attempted to host a peaceful, open discussion. As Turning Point activist, the very brave young Bob wrote, physically assaulted at the Turning Point stand on the LSE campus. We were simply trying to debate. Yet several masked men kept approaching throughout, doing everything they could to shut down a fair discussion. This is the state of tolerance at our universities. And to be honest, I think what's actually just most important is that you see these horrific scenes. Watch.
You arrest women! Fuck you!
They shouldn't be allowed.
You're on camera.
That's my property, my friend. Oh. Well, I think we should stay here just to see what happens. Well, this is fun. Well, I honestly think that if they're just going to do this, I think it's fine. Well, listen, I'm not going to fall into intimidation. If it is literally just a couple of ballied students, I'm not going to do anything physically, however I can handle it. You're legitimizing this understanding that they can just do this. I think you're stepping on my property, so I would ask that you don't do that. But look, the law IQ chimps, the ones that are unfortunately, you know...
Please do not call people that.
Well, don't protest the speaking event. So, for the intimidating woman with a belly on, do you want to speak on why... Yes.
One of your Fascists off of campus! Be a traditional man and stop being afraid of women!
Pardon? Well, this is good fun. Section 14 of the Public Order Act. So, not dispersing during a protest, and it was given a no further action. How am I a doxer? What women have I harassed? Find me the woman. What woman have I harassed? Pardon? That is my real name. That was just a stage name I used to go by, but my real name is very publicly open to the public. I've said it on many occasions. My name is Gregory Thomas Mackay Moffat, but I go by Young Bob.
This is what we're trying to do.
So look, yeah, and get NFA'd again. So look, I'm not trying to be petty here. It seems like you are. I'm just trying to engage in a genuine discussion.
We do not engage with Nazis. We do not engage with fascists.
Why?
Fascists off our campus.
Why?
Fascists off our campus. We do not engage with fascists.
Keep the distance. Yeah, I'll try to. However, I think it's fair to try and have a discussion with these people. Well, because I have respect for my elders, unlike you people.
Doesn't that just sum it up? Just sums it up. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for young Bob. I think he's the British heir apparent to Charlie Kirk. But I think it's just shocking that in this context, the elite class still tried to justify the absolute dire state of Khan's London. Watch this from GB News.
What's the issue with Whitechapel? A lot of people would say not a lot of white people. Is that what you're going for?
No,
what's the issue?
It's not about
with
skin
Whitechapel?
colour. If you come out, I'll tell you what, you come out of Whitechapel Station, my family's from the East End.
Yeah.
You could be anywhere in South Asia, okay? Because...
So what is it about? It's not skin colour, what is it?
No, it's about language, and it's about businesses that are not essentially British. And
so
if
businesses that aren't British, what do you mean?
If I could move, say I moved to Whitechapel, I find it hard to find a pub. Now, there used to be on every corner. So not just because of the economy, but because the culture and the demographics have changed there.
Do you believe in free markets?
You could walk from one end of Whitechapel to the other and not hear someone speak English. Is that protecting our culture? Yes or no, Sebastian?
Do you believe in free markets?
Yes.
Well, then... Well, then you'll be defending their right to open whatever businesses they want to serve the customers they have.
We're talking about the erosion of British culture. Has that happened in Whitechapel, yes or no?
No, I don't think it has.
Ridiculous.
Because that culture has evolved. Because we're not Normans or Saxons anymore, we're modern Britons.
They're not speaking English, Sebastian.
I don't speak English in my household. Am I less British as a result?
No, but you're speaking English now.
Yes, and they all speak English as well.
I mean, the fact that that leftist thinks that's some type of gotcha moment. As for Khan himself, he is that ultimate champagne socialist, right? Ignoring destruction at home to swan around the world on private jets, be wined and dined on super yachts, As Chris Rose pointed out, Sadiq Khan went on an £83,000 taxpayer-funded jolly to Africa with an entourage of 11 staff. He also flew business class. Mr. Eco racked up around 258 tonnes of carbon emissions over the 4-day trip, more than 22 times the average accrued by a UK family over an entire year. And look at his arrogance when he was challenged on this.
For the last 9 years, all you've done is moan and whine and say that it's always someone else's faults for the things that you have to do. But possibly one of the budget savings you could have made was the cost of your Africa trip, which cost the taxpayer £83,000. You took an entourage of 11 staff to South Africa alone. Can you explain, by the way, this was on business class, so good for you. I hope they took care of you on the flight. Can you explain why such a large team was essential, or does streamlining only ever apply to everyone else's footprint but yours?
It's the role of the Mayor of London to champion the capital as an exceptional place to live, work, study and invest in. The purpose of the visit was to promote London, support growth.
So, look, I would say, Mr. Mayor, why did you have to go business class? Why did taxpayers have to fund your lavish trips in that way? Can't you fly with the rest of us normally?
Chair, a number of the legs of that trip were economy class.
Did you fly business class, yes or no?
One of the legs was business class, I think, Chair. I'm trying to find out, trying to get the table. I'm more than happy to say it, so let me find it now, 1 second.
Well, look, I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
A truly pathetic man. I mean, some are now challenging what's going on in the elite class. I do want to give them credit for that. So shout out to the Tory MP Nick Timothy, who is now campaigning against what he knows is an Islamist takeover.
Islamist leaders or Islamist preachers or street organisers or whatever, they obviously make threats about the future of this country, about foreign policy, often about Jewish people, often about other minorities as well, like Hindus or gay people or whatever. And we talk about it often in terms of the threat they pose to us, collectively as a country. But one of the other things that's happened is that the mainstream in politics and the media and the public services have allowed these people to dominate public discourse about what it is to be a Muslim in this country.
Yes.
So they are actually giving the wrong impression of a lot of opinion in the Muslim population here. But we're allowing them to say within that population that they're the ones with the power, and actually don't speak up if you just want to get on with your life and raise your family and get a good job and do well for yourself, because they're the ones who are in charge and they're the ones who the authorities listen to.
Two others who get it are Will Kingston, the Australian commentator, host of the Aussie Spectator podcast, and the former Australian Prime Minister, Tony Abbott. This is an important conversation. Watch.
The demographics of our more recent immigration intake have seen a large increase in people coming from Islamic countries.
Yeah.
Many people in this country are uncomfortable with that. How do you feel about that demographic shift? And do you think that it undermines that form of multiculturalism that you talk about in the book as being largely successful in the post-war era?
Well, you raise, I think, a very important question. How compatible is Islam with modern Western liberal democracy? And I think the truthful answer is not very. I don't think that means we stop taking immigrants who happen to be Muslim. What I think it means is that we should be very keen to ensure that all of our migrants are only too well aware of our expectation that they will be joining Team Australia, and also our expectation that for all the diversity of modern Australia, we have a core Anglo-Celtic culture and we have a fundamental Judeo-Christian ethos.
But there should be so many more, given the urgent threat we are facing. But instead, they spend most of their time attacking Tommy Robinson, whose life, by the way, is in constant danger. So look at this. Again, virtually ignored by the mainstream media. This is the Birmingham rapper Twister Cheese, otherwise known as Omar Ibrazak. He was recently jailed for making threats against Tommy Robinson, but has now been jailed for attacking a petrol station with a flamethrower. He told a shopkeeper, "I'm a terrorist. I will kill you." Now, after being arrested, he admitted what he had done, saying, "Allah told me to do that." So this man has made direct threats against Tommy Robinson. Watch him here.
Like
magic. It really is time to start protecting and stop attacking Tommy Robinson, who is doing all he can to halt what is now a chilling Islamist takeover of the disunited kingdom. Now, Paul Thorpe is here. Paul, so great to have you on Outspoken today. I mean, it is astonishing, isn't it, when you look at the Islamist threat, so clearly a threat targeted at Tommy Robinson, yet just this week, you still see the people who actually should be protecting patriots, for example, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, actively attacking Tommy in Parliament, thereby, I would argue, encouraging that type of violence against him.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. Thank you as always, by the way. It's a pleasure to be back. As always, Dan, you know, we have to put up with the same old pathetic rhetoric from the same old pathetic culprits. I'm afraid it's time that everyone opened their eyes and saw what's clearly going on right in front of our very eyes, week in, week out, by the usual suspects. As time goes by, we are seeing people slowly but surely waking up, but the gaslighting of the nation continues and continues at a pace.
It really does. But the thing is, Paul, don't you think there are sometimes these moments, and I sort of describe them as crossover moments, where actually people start realizing this isn't a political thing. And I think there was one of them with this Bridgerton actress, right? Genevieve Chenoir. Yeah. And Tommy has actually posted on that in the past few hours, writing, Bridgerton actress Genevieve Chenoir breaks down as she is attacked in London for a second time. No description of the attackers, of course. We all know she wasn't attacked by an Englishman. And the thing is, Paul, she's an actress. You know, she's probably on the woke side of things. But at the end of the day, no one is safe. And this is the real world impact. And I think it's becoming harder for the mainstream media and people like James O'Brien and Fraser Nelson to say, oh, this is just far right thugs like us, right, Paul, like you and me, who are just making this up for political reasons. I mean, what are you going to say this about Genevieve Chenoir?
Yeah. I mean, look, Dan, I mean, obviously I've got sympathy for the young lady. You know, it's a horrible, horrible thing that's taken place. But I'm afraid that some of these people, Dan, they just won't open their eyes until they are victims. And even then, you know, we saw our mutual friend Liam Tufts interviewing a guy down in Crowborough recently saying, you know, what if this was your daughter? And he's like, well, if it is, it is. For me, it's a mental issue. Almost, it's like a virus that's spread through certain parts of the nation. Watching those individuals with young Bob, totally and utterly incapable of even holding the most basic conversation. it's an illness.
It really is. I think young Bob is doing incredible work, though, right? I mean, super impressed by him. Brave guy.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a very brave young man. I think what you said is correct, is the heir apparent. And, you know, look, I worry about him because he's a young man. He's, you know, physically not the biggest guy in the world. And I hope everyone looks after him and keeps their eye on him at these events. But, you know, the way the police are, I was watching a video earlier in the week in the way in which police dealt with Antifa down in Bristol, messing around, you know, patacate with these masked thugs. By the way, there was a section in place, I believe, that banned face coverings. The police just ignored that, let them get away with it, in stark contrast to the way in which they treat patriots at our events, where the riot helmets are on, the batons are out, and the riot shields, when there's not even any trouble, but they treat these people with kid gloves and they wonder why they continue to do it and to get away with it.
The thing is that the elite class, the mainstream media, the liberal elite, regardless of what's going on and regardless of the increasing violence and the Islamist takeover that we see with our own eyes, still continue to want to paint Tommy Robinson as a bogeyman. Now, of course, independent shows like this one, like the show hosted by today's guest, Paul Thorpe, on YouTube, are starting to change, but they're not going down without a fight. And I want to show you a very telling video which was broadcast this week by the Rest is Politics, those cretins, Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, directly not just targeting Tommy Robinson himself, but coming for people, I would argue, like me, who have been mainstream media figures, but who now realizes that the mainstream media is beyond hope, coming for people like us for telling the truth about the Unite the Kingdom organizer. I'll get reaction from Paul in just one moment and actually show you what Tommy Robinson had to say. But first, watch their discussion.
Washing now happening of Tommy Robinson. A lot of people saying you can't call him racist, you can't call him fascist, because he's not Hitler.
Hitler wasn't Hitler until he became Hitler.
Absolutely. When I challenged Tommy Robinson on Twitter, he said, Rory Stewart is weak spiritually, weak emotionally, weak intellectually, weak. Again, when I challenged him back, his supporters come in and they say, you never answer any questions. Here are two questions to answer. Number one, are there too many Muslims in the UK? Number two, if there are, how many should there be? So I answer back, one, no, two, C1. And then unleashed on me is extraordinary abuse. But if you think about what would happen if you replace that word Muslim with are there too many Jewish people in the UK, are there too many black people in the UK, then you see where the problem is. And people are just not waking up. I'm getting more and more aggravated about this.
And I mean, the Rest of Politics loves this, that they're sort of purposely trying to stoke Tommy Robinson supporters. Indeed, when they posted that clip on X, they did it with the caption cue, Tommy Robinson's fans flocking to the replies. Tommy did go for it. He hit back, writing, he's talking to a man, this is Alistair Campbell, of course, who is responsible for the death of millions of Muslims in Iraq and Afghanistan, about my supporters offending him about Muslims. Irony is lost on these vile people. And I thought that was a very good point, Paul Thorpe. But what do you make of the fact that for someone like Rory Stewart, you know, who hilariously describes himself as a conservative, I mean, he's clearly not, but Tommy Robinson, even now, remains the figure who they believe they need to bring down?
Well, they feared Tommy quite clearly, Dan, because Tommy tells the truth. He's been telling the truth for, you know, well over a decade now, and he continues to tell the truth. Whether it's unpleasant for some of these people's ears or not, doesn't really matter. The truth is the truth. It doesn't even matter if you like Tommy or not. It's still the truth. And people like this, for me, they're just, I mean, the only word I can think of really is they're cowards. They refuse to face the truth. They refuse to see it. They won't champion the truth. And I just wonder where these people actually live. What communities do they live in? What experiences of real life every day, living in London, living in places like Luton, Blackburn, Bradford, Leicester, Birmingham, etc. What experience have they really had of the life that Tommy Robinson has had as an example.
Mm.
But Dan, they're cowards. It's simple as that. They would never debate Tommy, ever. You'll never, ever, ever get these people to debate Tommy live on a show like yours, which would be the ideal platform, by the way. They'll never do it, quite simply because they haven't got the argument and they haven't got the backbone.
100%. And that's the irony, isn't it? Even though they would claim to be independent media, in fact, they still operate on this whole de-platform basis, which is where the mainstream media has been for a long time. And, you know, in recent memory, Paul, it wasn't like that. I mean, sure, he might have had a pretty rough ride, but Tommy Robinson, in his early EDL days, was allowed to appear on the British Bashing Corporation on Sly News. So it just shows you how over the past decade, the mainstream media has decided, well, we can't beat these people, so we're going to silence these people.
Then 100%. And the bottom line is, the more truthful Tommy's words are being unveiled, the more relevant his message becomes, the more they need to ban him. They just cannot have Tommy's voice on the mainstream media for fear of it reaching people who, unfortunately, are still away from social media, still away from shows like yours and mine, etc., and many other great patriot shows on social media. They cannot afford to have a man like Tommy Robinson that tells the truth on mainstream TV. Again, I call them out now. I call them out here live on your show. These people are utter cowards.
They are. They are. And the other fascinating sort of glimpse into that is the Liberal Democrat Party, right? And specifically Ed Davey, who is waging war against GB News. Now, I obviously find this so hilarious, Paul, because as you know, and as we've discussed many times, like, and I was the launch presenter at GB News, but to me, GB News is absolutely now an establishment channel, right? Like, it has moved so far towards the center. Look at the GB News coverage of the United Kingdom rally, for example. So, like, I find it hilarious that actually GB News remains such a target to them. But of course, it's because of Farage, right? And it's because they want to shut Farage down. And so Ed Davey has made yet another video. I'll get you to react, but let's just watch this first.
With the BBC, and you know what? He's got every right to be angry with the BBC.
Donald Trump is gunning for the BBC, and his mate, Nigel Farage, couldn't be happier.
The BBC, under our plans, would be slimmed down to something very relatively small.
But why is Farage so keen to see the end of Britain's cherished public broadcaster? Especially when the BBC puts him on TV so often and gives him such an easy ride. This might have something to do with it. Nigel Farage has been paid over £330,000 by GB News in the last year alone. Farage is deep in the pockets of a company that aims to replace the BBC and put an end to independent, impartial news altogether.
Well, I did notice that Donald Trump's press secretary, Catherine Leavitt, suggested British viewers watch GB News, not the BBC.
No wonder Nigel Farage is egging Trump on to destroy the BBC, to serve his own interests and line his own pockets. We can't let him.
But you know one thing, folks, whether you're watching at home or in the car listening to this, it is very much the advantage of GB News.
Trump's America. Don't let it become Farage's Britain.
I mean, I just laugh at that, Paul. I find the whole thing hilarious. But I guess what's most interesting to me, though, is the panic, the absolute panic from the elite class, because they are losing. They are losing because they know, look at us on YouTube, right? Yeah. And this will be the next thing. You know, they'll be trying to shut down Paul Thorpe on YouTube. They'll be trying to shut down Outspoken on YouTube, because if you compare our numbers on YouTube to the numbers that the legacy media receive, by the way, including GB News and Talk TV, it's just incomparable. And so Ed Davey wants to maintain this system. And I think they will start actually engaging sort of the deep state and apparatuses, I guess, of the deep state in order to do that.
Dan, I think we've got to be a little bit fair to it, Davey. I mean, come on, Christmas is coming. The pantomime season is due any moment. And doesn't he remind you of Darling on Blackadder? I mean, he's got one eye half shut when he speaks. I mean, he is Darling from Blackadder. I mean, look, the guy's hilarious, right? I mean, I actually quite like it, Davey, because he just makes me laugh. Not politically, but I just think he's such a clown. But no, seriously, you're absolutely right, Dan. And look, they're scared. They're scared. The bottom line is they are scared. And the reason they're scared is because they know that the people are coming for them all. When the next general election comes around, all of these people are going to suddenly have to go out and find themselves a job somewhere and someone that will take them on, because their days as politicians are rapidly coming to an end. And Ed Davey is very much among those people.
Oh, yes, he is. And it is over. It is over for you, Ed. Whether you like it or not, you just don't know it yet. Breaking right now, Rupert Lowe has hit back at that race baiter-in-chief, the anti-white racist herself, Dr Shola, after he revealed that the police were going to take no action against her, despite quite clearly inciting violence against the Restore Britain leader, something he believes proves that there is now two-tier Britain given the action taken against Lucy Connolly. So let me rewind back to where this story started. You might remember that Rupert Lowe had advocated for restoring the death penalty, actually a popular position, right, in the United Kingdom, but one that seems to apparently make you an extremist in the mainstream media world. Dr Shola responded, writing, "Then execute white criminals by death penalty first." She made this about race. Rupert Lowe had not said a thing. He wanted the death penalty restored for the most heinous, most horrific, and most monstrous crimes. But he hadn't made an issue of race. She then went on, there are more heinous, horrific, and monstrous white criminals than there are foreign criminals. I'm against the death penalty, but for you, Rupert Lowe, I'll gladly make the exception. Rupert responded, Lucy Connolly was in prison for months over one foolish social media post. Let's see what happened here. And Dr Shola then taunted the authorities and the Metropolitan Police, writing, bring it on. Even the Met Police sees through your lie. Not only did I not threaten you with death penalty, I don't care about you. You're so desperate to be a victim. I departed from my principal stance against death penalty for you if you execute white British criminals first, following your call to execute foreign criminals. Yes, foreign criminals, Dr Shola. He hadn't spoken about their colour, okay? Because just to clarify, you can be a foreign criminal if you are white, for example, from Poland. This was not about race. It was about ethnicity. She went on, you're just another racist, anti-Muslim, Islamophobic bigot who weaponizes the public office to incite hate. Carry on. Now, I got involved in this too, writing Dr Shola now calling for the execution of Rupert Lowe, but the MSM will continue to have this hard leftist hate preacher on their cosy sofas. They're as bad as each other. She responded, hey, dumbass Dan Wootton, it's better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than open it and remove your all doubt. Your comprehension of the English language is sorely lacking, but I expect no less from intellectual dishonest frauds like you, making an exception for Rupert Lowe by agreeing to depart from my principled stance against the death penalty as long as he executes white British criminals first. It's calling out his duplicity and double standards. You walking, talking oppressor masquerading as a victim. On a lighter note, do I finally make number one of your UK most hated list? I was offended when I came third last time. Well, I mean, it's highly possible. It is highly possible you will go up that list, Dr Shola, because I actually think you are the type of hate preacher who needs to go. You hate Britain so much. You hate the white native population so much. This country would be so much better without you in it. Now, Rupert Lowe took this issue of Dr Shola to Parliament, this Westminster Hall debate with Lucy Connolly, where he revealed that the police had washed their hands of her incitement to violence. Watch.
Online influencer Shola Mos Shogbamimu recently posted on X, and I quote, "I am against the death penalty, but for you, Rupert Lowe, I'll gladly make the exception." This post currently has 2 million views. The Met Police have said no action will be taken. I don't want people in prison for social media posts. I also don't want such obvious two-tier policing. Shola walks free, yet Lucy Connolly was imprisoned for one foolish social media post, soon deleted. Where is the fairness in that?
And Paul Thorpe, that is the question, is it not? Where is the fairness in that? Because we all know that Dr Shola was inciting violence against Rupert Lowe. We all know that she was engaging in very obvious anti-white racism by saying that white criminals should be executed before non-white criminals, something that Rupert Lowe had never said. Now, we can laugh that off, right? I happily laugh that off. You know, I don't want anyone arrested for speech. But it is the absolutely revolting double standards where, and I will say it, white Britons are still being arrested all the time, yet the Metropolitan Police ignore someone like Dr Shola.
Well, Dr Shola bringing race unnecessarily into a debate, big surprise, eh?
I know.
I mean, look,
maybe the least surprising moment of the week, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, Dan, at the end of the day, the only thing that I will give her is, yeah, sure, I'd like to see people like Ian Huntley subject to the death penalty. It wouldn't bother me one bit, but it's ridiculous. Why do these people... Dan, these people are dangerous. This is never, ever, ever, for any of us within this movement, within this space, been about race.
No.
Let's put that to bed once and for all. We do not care. And Dan, I'm pretty sure I speak for you when I say this. We love people of all colours.
Absolutely.
It's about culture. It's about...
I'm colourblind.
Exactly, Dan.
But you know, they call me racist for that.
Dan, the word racist now is becoming a compliment almost, because if someone calls you a racist, you know you've won the argument. What I want to see is people come onto your show, onto mine, and prove us wrong. That I can respect. If someone can prove me wrong, then I've learned something. I always say that. I enjoy being proven wrong because then I've learned something. But unfortunately, these people teach us nothing other than intolerance. And is it incitement? Well, I wouldn't want to see her personally go to jail for a comment like that. I personally wouldn't.
I totally agree.
She is a race baiter. She is a troublemaker. And it is people like this that are causing divide between black and white people who should be brothers and sisters and enjoy our lives together. We make our way in life together. We become all proud of being British under one flag, sharing the same pint on a Friday night and the same football match on a Saturday afternoon. People like Dr Shola do not want that because there is no money in unification, only division.
Oh, yes. I think that's a really important point to make, by the way, Paul. She is on a massive grift. Narinder Kaur is on a massive grift, you know, because Narinder used to say things about Islam, which, you know, even we wouldn't say, but she doesn't anymore because there is a massive grift going on.
I refuse to mention her name. She's not worthy of a mention to me personally. Dan, I've never mentioned her and I never will because she is just a grifter, a race-baiting grifter, a religious grifter. And frankly, look, if that's how she earns her money, if that's her shtick, that's her shtick, right? But for me, she's not for me.
Rupert Lowe also attacked Reform UK at this debate, Paul. And I do think it's something that is forgotten quite often because remember, this was a debate all about free speech. And you will remember that Reform UK, which claims to be for free speech, did report Rupert Lowe to the police for hurty words in an apparent argument with Zia Youssef. I do wonder if we've forgotten that all too quickly, Paul. Watch.
Personal experience. A late-night police raid initiated by false allegations from former Reform Party colleagues relating solely to words I had allegedly spoken. The party of free speech, indeed. The Reform leadership's bitter attempt to see me in prison failed, but too many others do not escape the consequences of such vile misuse of the system.
And Rupert, that's Rupert. Paul, I think Rupert is making a very fair point here, actually. And when people come for me, which they often do, and say, Dan, well, Reform UK is the only chance to save the United Kingdom, you're quite tough on them. I say, look, I voted for Reform UK at the last election. I was the first person to predict I think Nigel Farage will be Prime Minister by 2029. It's possible, Paul, that if there was an election tomorrow and I thought that there was the most chance of Reform UK seeing this hard leftist Islamist bloc go, that I would vote for them again. However, that moment for me when Rupert Lowe was reported to the police for hurty words was a big one. And there's been absolutely no reckoning within Reform UK about what happened. And I can't just forget it and move on.
Look, Dan, I think you give everyone a very fair crack at the whip. I mean, look, for me, I think the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom right now are sick and tired of hypocrisy politics. And for me, I'm afraid that is where, in many cases, Reform and Nigel Farage has led us. I am now, as I think you know, a member of Advance UK. I'm also on the college.
Yes, you are, with Ben Habib, which I think is great, by the way. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Ben, for me, is the man that gives the people what they need. I think Nigel and his team missed the biggest trick in the book by, basically removing or making Ben and one or two other people unwelcome within the party. Together, united, they could have stormed this country politically like never before. Unfortunately, there's a split, but for me, it's Advance and Ben 100%. I'm afraid Nigel has lost my confidence for many, many reasons that we won't go into right now. But look, as you say, if there was a general election tomorrow, the way we would have to vote, potentially tactically in some areas, we'd have to wait and see. But you're right.
Totally.
I mean,
and who knows what's going to happen. And obviously, I hope that... So you just make your point. Sorry, Paul, I interrupted.
No, sorry, Dan. I was just going to repeat, it's the hypocrisy politics that I think the vast majority of people are sick and tired of. And I want to see candidates and politicians that tell the truth, tell us it is, and give the people something not only to hope for, something to believe in, Dan, politicians that we can actually believe. Because we've given these people so many mandates in the past and they've let us down. The problem for me, one of the problems with Reform is they're taking people into the party who have failed in the past. This is like employing a football manager who's just seen his last team relegated. It's not going to work.
Yeah, there's that whole debate about where the Tories should come in. Also, it would be remiss of me not to mention this major piece of news today in regards to Reform UK. Nathan Gill, who was the party's former leader in Wales, jailed for taking bribes for pro-Russia speeches. Police say he received at least £40,000. He's gone to jail. I mean, this is an extraordinary sentence to me, Paul. 10.5 years. I mean, I'm not a supporter of that. I think that is absolutely nuts. And I definitely do believe this is the judicial system weaponizing themselves against Reform UK in the same way we have seen the judicial system weaponizing themselves against Tommy Robinson for years. However, that said, let's just take it as read that this guy is indeed guilty. It very much feels ironic to me that, Rupert Lowe was such an issue. Do you know what I mean?
I do, Dan. I do indeed. I mean, it's a very serious charge. We'll have to see how it comes out in the wash, and I'm sure there will be a lot more to come out about this.
Indeed there will. Indeed there will. And of course, one thing that I can guarantee is the mainstream media will go totally bananas for this story because it fits into their agenda. And I would just argue that Reform UK haven't made it easy for themselves because what they needed was a united right. And unfortunately, the way that they treated Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe means that, like in the US, and we're seeing that divide play out at the moment, the UK right is divided too. Now, you can try and pretend that isn't happening. I would argue that's intellectually dishonest. For me, I just want to tell you what I think, but I also stress out, it's not me who's cancelled Reform UK being on the show. They have chosen to do that themselves. Developing today, a growing row on the right over Mike Graham, the axed Talk TV presenter, going independent, with a divide between loyal Talk supporters and Tommy Robinson fans who say Mike Graham has not yet had a come to mama moment about his previous criticism of the Unite the Kingdom activist. Now, Paul Thorpe is obviously a close ally of Tommy Robinson, already operating in the independent media space. And when I sat down for this exclusive interview with Mike Graham, Paul wanted me to put a very direct question to Mike Graham. I did. And so I want to show you what happened, and then we'll hear if Paul was satisfied. Another great guy in this space, Paul Thorpe, who has his own independent broadcast, and you know he likes you, Mike, but he messaged me when I was saying I'm going to be speaking to you, saying you're a very likable guy, but you lost a lot of respect when you threw Tommy Robinson under a bus. Given recent events, would you like to apologise to Tommy and accept that he's a decent guy and a patriot and not a far-right racist? Up to you, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tommy Robinson's probably going to be okay without my endorsement, to be honest. You know, he's got a very big following, much bigger than mine. He and I have been going at each other for as long as I can remember. You know, he's called me a lot of names too. But, you know, we're all big boys, aren't we? I mean, I don't think I need to apologise to him. I'd quite happily...
Would you debate him?
Maybe.
I'd like to host that.
Okay. But I don't see... part of me, I get this a lot, and people go, why don't you just debate him? And he said it as well. Why don't you debate me? I don't debate about what exactly? You know, because we're not actually that far apart on some of the things that we think. I think he's a much more nasty kind of figure, if you like, in the way that he goes about doing things. So
is it more the tone of Tommy rather than what he has to say that upsets you?
I think so.
Paul, I asked the question, were you happy with Mike Graham's response?
I'll be honest with you, Dan. I was very disappointed, and I'll tell you why. I mean, there's a few points here, isn't there? First of all, you know, Mike spoke about this being his shtick, you know, the way he reacts to people, etc. That doesn't excuse lies and libel, I'm afraid. You know, he's very clearly said a lot of very damaging things about Tommy in the past that are simply not true. Whether you like Tommy or whether you don't, they are not true. And because Mike is still a likeable sort of character, he's like that chubby lad at school that you just can't help but laugh with and like. He refused to hold his hands up and apologise for saying any of those things. Now, look, at the end of the day, he now knows what it feels like to be unfairly demonised. Hence, I'm afraid I still haven't got a lot of sympathy for him. And I just felt that this was the chance for him to man up a little bit, to own up, and instead of doubling down on Tommy, saying he can get by without my endorsement. Well, look, Tommy never needed or ever sought Mike's endorsement. All he wanted was the truth. And he also said, oh, you know, why should I debate Tommy? Saying, what is there for me to debate Tommy with? What should I debate him about? You know, well, come on, really, Mike? Come on, mate. You know, don't insult our intelligence. You're bigger than that. And for me, Dan, if Mike wants to restore his credibility in its entirety, the best way to do that will be to get his ass back on your show with Tommy, which is, without brown nosing, yours is now the biggest, the best show in this space. Get the two of them together. Anyone watching this right now, put it in the comments. Do you agree with me? Get Tommy and Mike Graham on this show. Dan to be the host, and they can sort it out man to man and put the record straight.
100%. I'm desperate to host it. I think we need to do that much more in this space, Paul. And it's really interesting because there's been a huge response to the Mike Graham interview, and it has been mixed. And, you know, I'm really honest about this, right? So some people have said to me, absolutely brilliant. You know, we love Dan. It's great that you're supporting him. And then I think, well, actually, yes, I am in lots of ways, but I also asked him a lot of tough questions, and I'll show you how I actually put what Tommy Robinson had said about him directly. You know, you don't see many people doing that. I challenged him, for example, on the fact that he doesn't believe in the great replacement theory, which I think is not a theory, it is a fact. So there was that side of the argument. Then there are the other people who say, well, no, Dan, you shouldn't have had Mike on at all. You know, I can't believe that you're helping him. And again, I do struggle with that, Paul, because personally, I think what we don't live in a world of total moral purity. We're in this independent space. We are only ever going to speak to people who we 100% agree with. And I think that's one of the huge issues with Reform UK, right? Like, they made a choice with this show. Once I said, what you did to Rupert Lowe was disgusting, right? So you've reported Rupert Lowe to the police, and I don't trust Zia Youssef as far as I can throw him. You know, I think he is an Islamist who has never been honest about why he was able to enter this political realm so quickly. But as soon as I said that, Paul, they decide, well, Outspoken is not a place for us. You know, Dan is now the enemy. Well, again, you're not my enemy. Reform UK, you are not my enemy. You can say that I'm your enemy, but that's nuts. You know, the enemy is Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, Slippery Starmer, Shabana Mahmood, the tit whisperer Zach Polanski. Need I go on? They are our enemies. So I want to try and be able to bring people together here, and also accept that we're not always going to 100% agree, right, on everything. But we broadly should be in the same place, which is supporting free speech, concerned about the Islamic threat, etc., etc. So it's been interesting to me to see the reaction from a lot of my contemporaries. And by the way, I respect people who are having a go at me. I love it. You know, the ones who are messaging me privately, I say, look, it's great. I want to have this discussion. But I think, you know, we can't be so morally puritanical. And I don't actually even think when it comes to Tommy, but you tell me, he would want that. You know, I don't think Tommy would say, oh, well, Dan, you shouldn't speak to Mike Graham because Mike Graham's been rude to me. No, as you say, it's about the truth, and it's about having these discussions and sort of saying, Mike, what did you mean by this?
Yeah, very much so, Dan, and I agree entirely. I mean, well, let's put it to the test, Dan. I'm sure that if Tommy and Mike Graham was on your show tomorrow, I'm sure that'll be one of the biggest audiences, live audiences of all time.
Yes, it would. And you could see Mike was sort of wavering, wasn't he?
Well, you know, I'm not sure that Mike has the backbone for it, to be honest, but we'll see. Look, I can't speak for Tommy. What I can say is this: knowing him as I do, I think that Tommy would not want to take his voice away. Most definitely not. And I also believe that Tommy would be the bigger man, in the respect that if he was proven wrong over time, he would apologise. I've seen him do it before, and I'm sure we'll see him do it again. As I said, look, I can only say what I've already said, Dan. I like Mike Graham as a presenter. He is an entertainer, and that makes him good at what he does. Do I respect him as a man? I'm afraid at the moment the answer to that is the jury is out. You know, we have to. Mike's got a bit of making up to do as far as being, you know, playing a fair bat, as it were. And it's time he either owned up with Tommy and just said, look, you know what, Tommy, mate, I got it wrong. You know, you understand, it was my job. I'm working for the mainstream media. It's part of what I have to do. Forgive me. You know, I think Tommy would shake his hand. As I say,
yeah, I think he would too.
He would.
He wants there to be a reckoning with people like Julia Hartley-Brewer and Camilla Tominay, you know, but it's not that he's saying, I don't want to have anything to do with you ever. I would say, Paul, and remember, I operated in very similar spaces. You know, for me, no one will ever find footage of me slagging Tommy Robinson off in the past. So I don't think your bosses ever force you to slag him off. What they do is they ban discussion of him altogether. And that's what I've been very honest about. So the people who are choosing to go one step further, like that revolting Camilla Tominay on the Daily Telegraph, saying that he's a white supremacist on woke ITVs this morning when Tommy was in jail and couldn't fight back, that is on her. You know, that is not on her bosses. But certainly when I was at GB News, and there would be a lot of demand from the viewers for me to speak about Tommy and get Tommy on, and I understand it, right? And I was obviously in private communication with Tommy, but the bosses simply wouldn't allow it. You know, they wouldn't allow Father Calvin to do it. They wouldn't allow Lawrence Fox to do it. Now, obviously, I hoped that I was going to be able to shift the Overton window at GB News. And I think I did in a lot of ways, but not on Tommy. That was like a no-go zone. So it obviously took me being independent to be able to do what I wanted to do. And I've been honest about that, but I've also been honest about the fact that Tommy Robinson was one of the people who supported me most when I was cancelled by GB News. And that's really interesting to me, because it would have been so easy for him to say, oh, Dan, now you're getting a piece of my medicine. Yeah. And he never, ever did that. You know, he was absolutely there for me right from the moment that I was cancelled. And personally, I'll never forget that loyalty. By the way, if you do want to watch the full Mike Graham interview, of course, you can sign up to my Substack, www.outspoken.live. But I do just want to show you Paul, because as I say, I did play, you know, and this is when people are criticizing me. I absolutely put all points of view to Mike, but I thought the most important thing is actually he got to hear Tommy himself criticize Mike. And you know, it was quite awkward because what Tommy was saying was very full on. But anyway, I just want to show you what went down and then I'll get your reaction.
When we first kind of locked horns, he was, you know, perhaps a very different individual, but he was threatening to come to the office and, you know, find me and bring a load of, you know, there was a time when he used to go around, you know, with his followers.
Well, there were protests even quite recently outside the Talk offices.
Oh, were there? Well,
but that was in regards to something that Piers Morgan and Peter Cardwell had said.
Oh, okay. There was a time when he used to kind of, you know, if he didn't like a particular journalist, he would go after them, you know, in a way which I always thought was a little bit beyond the pale, which was kind of why I saw him in that light. And I think perhaps he's maybe modified his behaviour since then, and he's become a slightly more, what you might call, respectable figure, because he's realised that actually behaving like a thug isn't really the way to go. But there was a time when he did. And so I don't think I need to apologise to him, you know.
So you thought some of his behaviour towards you was thuggish?
Yeah.
And that's what you didn't like?
That was where it all started, really, you know.
He responded to your... well, whatever it was.
I mean, he tweets about me quite...
to you being taken off air. What was interesting, his first response, I guess, got a little bit of backlash because some people said, look, you shouldn't celebrate someone taking his job. He then explained, this was all public, this was on X, and I played it on the show, but I think it's only fair now that you're here that you can actually respond, because he made some specific, I'm not going to say that allegations, but claims that you were not taking a sexual abuse case seriously enough. This is what he had to say. Watch this.
Hold on, Mike. What's going on? For years, you've condemned me as a racist, and you just lost your job. Who's that? Mike, you know, some fat dude who does talk radio, talk TV. For years, all he ever does is use his platform, and every time he talks about me, he condemns me as that far-right racist. He's got drunk and he's got pissed up, posted loads of racist stuff. His true feelings come out. You were masking, you were fucking... It's brilliant.
Good, he's got time to exercise now.
Do you want a job with us, Mike? Nah, mate, don't employ racists. Let me just give you some context for why I'm laughing. A few years ago, there was a sexual assault at Centre Parks. I was on holiday at Centre Parks. And that sexual assault was against a child that's close to me. What Mike did at that time, so a sexual assault against a child close to me, Mike used his platform to belittle it, to mock it, and to say that it was fabricated and that the child was lying in order to promote my racist agenda. That's what Mike did. So of course, I'm very angry with Mike. I think it's outrageous behaviour. I think it's immoral behaviour. I think he's a scumbag. That's what I think, yeah? So, if you see me laughing, I wouldn't usually laugh at someone losing their job. I wouldn't usually laugh at... I don't believe in cancel culture, but Mike's an arsehole, yeah?
See, for me, Mike, this is such a shame. And I'll tell you
why. By the way,
it's such a shame.
Just before we comment on that,
yes.
the incident, I believe, that he's talking about at Centre Parks resulted in him being arrested for attacking someone. That's actually what happened. And that was the context for me to say... Because he was basically saying...
So you don't feel that you were belittling...
Not at all. No, the reason that he said that he assaulted this guy was because there was a sexual assault on a child. And that was his excuse for beating the guy up. That's what my recollection is.
I guess what I think is such a shame is that I think you're both brilliant people and you're both going to be incredibly important in what is going to be honestly a fight to save this country.
Yeah.
And can you understand that people sometimes think, well, why are you turning your fire on Tommy Robinson? I understand he's also turning his fire on you when look at who's running the show. You know, look at Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn's mob.
Yeah.
Look at the tit whisperer, Zach Polanski.
Oh, my God.
Like,
I mean, where does that guy come from?
I know. But do you know what I mean? Like, do you think now that you're in this independent space, there is potentially the possibility of at least putting some of that acrimony behind you?
Listen, I'm all for peacemaking at times, you know, but I also think we should all be grown up enough to understand that, you know, we don't all have to agree on everything. I mean, he's just called me an arsehole and a scumbag 2 or 3 times, and apparently I was supposed to apologise to him. I wouldn't ask him to apologise for that. You know, let him carry on. It's part of his shtick. That's fine. You know, I'll do me. He can do him.
Paul Thorpe, your reaction. I mean, I guess the thing that maybe Tommy Robinson supporters are most angry about was Mike's use of the word thug, although he did make the point that Tommy has changed.
Yeah, I mean, look, Danny, thug and racist are the 2 terms that would upset most of us. And I think, you know, Mike is being very economical with the facts there. Most people watching this will know exactly who was allegedly assaulted at that park that we're talking about in that incident. Yes, Tommy was arrested for allegedly assaulting someone who had allegedly attacked someone very, very, very close to Tommy himself. And I would imagine that most people, given his position that day, would have probably done the same thing. I know that I would have. So Mike knows those facts. So I think he's being a little bit disingenuous the way he described the incident. But look, I think he just needs to man up a little bit and just say, look, you know what? Okay, I've said some things about Tommy. Tommy said some things about me. I was wrong about him being a racist. You know, the stuff about the thug, about threatening to come to my office. No. It's okay for journalists to target. We have a case with Tommy going on like this right now. It's okay for journalists to go and attack Tommy, to go to his front door, to doorstep his children, to dox his family, to put his life in danger. But as soon as he goes to try and ask them a question, he's a thug. I'm sorry, the public just won't buy that.
Very well said. Paul Thorpe, who, of course, is one of our superstars of the independent media. I describe you, Paul, as the real People's Channel because, you know, GB News tries to claim the other People's Channel. But, you know, I say Paul Thorpe is the real People's Channel. And, of course, you must subscribe on YouTube under Paul Thorpe Official. But I love having you on Outspoken, Paul. Please do come back soon. Thank you, Paul.
God bless you all.
Thank you. And we're about to reveal today's it's not today's greatest Britain Union Jackass. It's that Friday, which means it is the worst Britain in the world this week when we put our Union Jackasses from across the week and reveal who has taken the prize. It's an infamous prize, isn't it, to be named the worst Britain in the world this week? Just a reminder of your nominees. Monday was Narinder Kaur, Tuesday Ed Davey, Wednesday Shabana Mahmood, Thursday Chris Packham. Let's get to some of your feedback. Eddie Burns says this Narinder is up there. She'll always get my vote. She hates this country and the people who don't dance to her tune but calls everyone else racist. Debatable 1984 says Narinder Kaur is by far the most insufferable woman in the UK. Not the most dangerous, but definitely one of the most annoying. I was severely disappointed today learning that she lied about moving to India if reform wins. She isn't. She loves the attention and freedom of the UK too much. Horrible woman. But Sav5768 says, Shabana, we have seen all this before. A few years ago, Suella Braverman filled the media with all kinds of tough talk and promises to stop the boats. How many boats did she actually stop? None. That's true, but I wouldn't argue it was her fault, by the way. She was very much stopped by Sunak. Mark Chambers said Shabana Mahmood because I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. Smoke and mirrors. She loves Islam, like she said in her interview. Islam is her life. Britain for British, run by British people. Okay, let me get to these results. In fourth position with 6% of your vote, Chris Packham. In third position with 15% of your vote, Ed Davey. The runner-up with 28% of the vote, Narinder Kaur. But the worst Britain in the world this week, by majority with 51% of your vote, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Now, do you remember at the top of the show I told you that something terrible had happened to Slippery Starmer when he arrived in South Africa? We must take another look.
Hello. How are you?
Now, he's trying to stop us. He's actually trying to stop us from showing this clip, as Guido Fawkes calls it, Downing Street's new North Korea comms strategy, demanding everyone takes down the video of the PM falling over. I mean, this is totally nuts. So let's just watch it one more time. Come on, let's listen to it too, I think, because the sound sort of gives the full view.
Hello. How are you?
He's a fool. He is a fool, but we've got to take those moments when we come, right? Okay, thank you for your company all week. We are going to move over to Substack now for the uncancelled after show. Huge amount to discuss on the royal beat with, according to Taz, royal YouTube sensation. If you're not going to be with us over on Substack, though, I do hope you have a wonderful weekend. Back live with you 5 p.m. UK time Monday, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Hit subscribe right now on YouTube. Turn on the notification bell so you're alerted to our new episodes. We're also now available as an Outspoken podcast, so I would love you to subscribe. You get us on video on Spotify, or you can watch us or listen to us as normal on Apple Podcasts, or actually anywhere where you get your podcast. Just search for Dan Wootton Outspoken, and please do rate and review 5 stars if you made. That makes a big difference to us in terms of the algorithm. Remember, Outspoken is a completely independent show. We have no big backing from any, media outlet in the mainstream. Totally independent, so we could use your help on that front. Hope you have a brilliant couple of days. If you're in the United Kingdom, wrap up warm. It's going to be a cold one. I'll see you Monday, but most importantly, before then, I promise to keep fighting for you.